We're planning to live in this house. Can you leave? You're just here for the inheritance, aren't you? How could someone be so cruel? Please, can you leave soon? My sister and her husband pressured me to leave the house. Despite the long time I had spent taking care of our father, he stood by my sister's side. Fine, but I'll take everything I bought, okay? Do as you like. After this conversation, I took back everything I had purchased. Wait, why is all the furniture and appliances in the house gone? My name is Kate, a regular office worker in my 30s. My relationship with my family isn't great. I've always felt distant, especially from my sister. Susan, my sister who's 2 years older than me, has always been the apple of our parents' eyes. Not only was she beautiful, but she also had a talent for the piano, often winning various contests. To our music-loving parents, she was undoubtedly the shining star. Susan is amazing. Even her piano teacher praised her. Maybe she'll become a famous pianist in the future. Our parents always talked about my sister like that, showering her with time, money, and love. I was always left in the shadows. As for me, honestly, I wasn't exceptional. A regular kid with an average face. Decent at sports, with no particular talent in arts. It seemed like my parents gradually lost interest in me. Frankly, as long as we have Susan, our family has enough, they'd joke. That's right. We can't expect much from Kate. Just don't cause any trouble. Confused by what causing trouble meant, I consulted my elementary school teacher. The teacher advised, study hard and be a good child. That alone should make your parents happy. Hearing that, I committed to learning. I strived to top my class and always be sincere. Throughout my elementary days, I was determined to never be a burden to my parents. Yet, sadly, all my efforts went unnoticed. Their attention was always on Susan. Even when I scored well on tests, they never celebrated with me. At that time, Susan was scouted multiple times on the street and did some child modeling. Conversations at home were almost entirely about her modeling. She is stunning and shines brightly. She has that certain beauty that modern kids have. As a pianist, she'll surely be loved by many. The phrase doting parents fits them perfectly. But to be fair, my sister truly had that potential. I had heard that the entertainment world was tougher than it appeared on TV or magazines. But I believed my sister could handle it, and my parents seemed so proud of her. Whatever she desired, they bought for her, whether it was new clothes or the latest toys. However, in my case, it was different. I was often told, "We can't afford it now," and I got my sister's hand-me-downs. At school, while everyone talked about the latest things, I waited for my sister's leftovers. By the time I got them, they were outdated and I felt left behind in conversations. Fortunately, I wasn't bullied for this. I consider myself lucky in that regard. By middle school, my sister's presence at home was as dominant as ever. She became even more beautiful, her modeling work increased, and she always seemed busy. While her piano competition rankings dipped a bit, she still made a mark. But around this time, she became a bit arrogant. She was often praised for her beauty and talents and seemed to believe she was special. It appeared she thought everything revolved around her, as if the world was in her grasp. After she entered middle school, her behavior towards me became colder. "I hate that we go to the same school. I don't want my friends to know you're my sister," she told me. My sister seemed to be embarrassed to go to the same school as me. She avoided me as if I was an undesirable presence and showed an attitude of not wanting to be involved with me as much as possible. What hurt even more was that it seemed like even our parents understood my sister's feelings. Since Susan said so, don't get too close to her at school. Yes, be careful not to do anything that would stress Susan out. In this way, I was told by my parents to stay away from my sister, which really hurt me. We were in different classes, so we didn't interact much, but being told things like this was very painful. Gradually, I felt like I didn't have a place in this house. Studying was my only escape, so my grades naturally improved. As a result, I always kept my rank at the top of the class. In fact, while my sister was brimming with talent for the piano, she wasn't so good at studying. Still, she managed to get into a private high school through hard work. At that time, our house was in a festive mood. Our parents were smiling more than I'd ever seen before, celebrating my sister's achievement. On the other hand, I also worked hard and was able to advance to the top public high school in our area. I thought I'd put in a lot of effort on my part. Unfortunately, at home, the main topic of conversation was all about the private university my sister was going to attend. Honestly, I was hoping for some words of praise myself, but one way or another, my parents' attention was always on my sister. My educational achievements seemed to be overshadowed. Honestly, I was a bit disappointed because I was waiting for a moment when my efforts would be recognized. But I thought I should make the most of my high school life. So I decided to shake off those feelings and move forward. I was grateful just to attend high school and intended to do my best for myself. Even though I was always in the shadows at home, I took pride in my studies. Nevertheless, my sister liked to tease me. "You're really not girly at all. Aren't you interested in makeup? It's hard to believe we're sisters," my sister would say, half jokingly with a smile. She actually won a beauty contest in college. After that, there was no end to her boasting at home. I guess she looked down on me with that in her heart. Moreover, our parents, riding on my sister's high, kind of belittled me too. "Why don't you try to be a bit more girlish? Just being good at studies doesn't mean much. Glamour is also important, like Susan. I don't want to tell my friends that the sister of a beauty contest winner is so plain. When Susan leaves the house, please stagger your timing." Hearing such words repeatedly, my heart gradually became numb, and I felt less pain. Over time, I began to feel that my sister wasn't that impressive. In high school, she was known as a piano prodigy, but her piano skills seemed to have plateaued, and she seemed to be distancing herself from it. Furthermore, her modeling offers decreased, and eventually, they stopped almost entirely. The expectations our parents had always expressed about her being a beautiful pianist didn't seem to be coming to fruition. Moreover, she seemed to be enjoying college life a bit too much and ended up taking an extra year. Seeing her like this, I felt like she was slowly losing her way. But seeing my sister this way, I felt the need to stay grounded and continue chasing my dreams. I believed that if I kept moving towards my dreams, I would be able to have fulfilling days in the future. The atmosphere in the house wasn't great, but I believed it was important to find what I wanted to do and keep moving forward step by step. Otherwise, I was afraid of being swallowed up by the mood of the house. When I entered college entrance exam season, I naturally aimed for prestigious national and public universities. However, I encountered a small obstacle. One day, when I bravely showed my parents a brochure and said, "I'm aiming for this university," I received an unexpected response. "Wait, university? Why do you want to go to such an expensive place?" said my father. And my mother added, "We want to use that money for Susan. She'll be studying for an extra year in college. So, we can't fund your college education, Kate. If you really want to go, get a scholarship." I was just stunned. I hadn't expected to hear anything like that. It really felt like they only saw my sister. But I was not one to get discouraged easily. In the end, I decided to go to a university where I could receive scholarship support. Of course, it was lower ranked than the university I initially had in mind, but I was very proud that I could start my college life on my own. After entering college, I started working part-time. The reason was, of course, to gain social experience, but honestly, I wanted to leave my parents' house as soon as possible because the atmosphere was stifling. At home, my sister and parents always seemed to be in high spirits, while I felt like an outsider. One day, my father suddenly said to me, "Are you planning to live here forever without contributing any money?" I was so surprised that I responded, "What are you talking about?" But he was basically saying he wanted me to start paying rent. I was surprised and immediately replied, "If that's the case, I'll find my own room and start living alone." However, my father did not let me. "Considering the favors you've received so far, it's natural to pay," he said. "Of course, living alone is good, but you should contribute to the household expenses." "Are you serious? With the salary from my student part-time job, that's quite tough." I couldn't help but raise my voice. Meanwhile, my older sister lived luxuriously with the allowance she received from our parents, without having a part-time job. Seeing that made me feel it was unfair. "When I graduate from college, I'll definitely pursue my own path," I resolved in my heart. However, as graduation approached, my parents' stance remained unchanged, and it seemed difficult to start living alone. In stark contrast, my sister never once worried about money. In fact, she constantly received an allowance from our parents and had never worked a day in her life. I, on the other hand, after graduating from college, had been dreaming of a new step in life, living alone. But that hope was shattered with a single comment from my parents. "You haven't repaid your college tuition, have you? Don't even think about living alone until you've paid it back," they said with stern faces. And to my disbelief, my sister was comfortably living alone with our parents covering her rent entirely. I couldn't hide my shock and disappointment at this unfairness. What was even more surprising, it seemed my sister was working in the night industry and had quite a substantial income. Moreover, she was receiving luxury brand bags and accessories from her patrons. While our parents paid all her rent, she was also financially supported by other men. This clear disparity in treatment within the family made me feel frustrated, but I didn't want to give up on my dreams. I believed I had the strength to move forward. I wanted to continue looking forward with hope. When I was 28 in spring, my mother passed away due to her chronic illness. She had been battling a severe disease for years. Watching her health decline, I sensed our final moments together were near. My father and sister were devastated and drowned in deep sorrow. However, I couldn't shed a tear. Recalling the past household situation and my mother's treatment of me, I felt more coldness than sadness. My father and sister criticized me for being cold-hearted, but it didn't bother me deeply. Time went on, and one day, my father's health took a turn for the worse. His legs and back weakened, affecting his daily life, and he needed care. I contacted my sister and explained the situation, but her response was, "It's difficult to take care of Dad during this precious time of my newlywed life." Since I had always been at our family home, she said it was my duty to care for our father. She had just married a man she met through her night job, so she didn't want this happy time to be disrupted. All I wanted was to share the family situation, so her reaction didn't surprise me. I had no big expectations. Although I took care of our father, he constantly criticized me. "Lower the water temperature. Come immediately when I call. You're so clumsy." I had a day job, so I had a helper come during the day to care for him. But in the evenings and weekends, I took care of him myself to save money. Yet, he never thanked me, taking my care for granted. Even then, a year after I started taking care of him, an unexpected opportunity arose. Out of the blue, my sister and her husband showed up at our family home. "We've decided to live here, so can you leave?" she casually said. "What do you mean?" I replied, staring back in surprise. Their eyes were cold as they glared at me. "Why bring this up all of a sudden?" I asked, but my sister accused me of unbelievable intentions. "You're trying to get our mother's inheritance, aren't you? While taking care of Dad and staying here?" Her husband added disdainfully. "I can't believe we had such a scheming person in our family." Stunned, I responded, "I never thought of the inheritance." "Why would you think that?" Yet my sister shouted back even more loudly, "Stop pretending. We're moving in, so leave." Then, to my shock, my father said, "Actually, I've been feeling the same as Susan. I thought you might be draining our money by staying here." I was speechless. After caring for him for so long, in the end, he chose my sister's side. I really can't believe it. I thought, but oddly felt relieved. With this, I thought I could finally break free from the ties of this house. I get it, but it's okay for me to take everything I bought, right? I asked for confirmation. My older sister responded, "You can take whatever you want. Don't worry about it, lol." When my sister and her husband found out I was leaving the house, they seemed pleased. They said while laughing, "It'd be great if you could leave quickly," and left. Since my sister told me I could take everything, I gathered up everything I had bought as I prepared to leave. Then, I smoothly moved to my new place. After I finished moving, I informed my sister, who said sarcastically, "That was quicker than expected." Impressive. She added while laughing, "Make sure you don't come back here." But in my mind, I had already decided I wouldn't return, so I was okay. A week later, my phone rang. The caller ID showed it was my sister. "Hello, why did you call?" When I answered, my sister's voice was filled with urgency and surprise. "Why is our house so empty? There are no furniture, appliances, nothing." It seemed she was shocked to find the house completely empty. "Oh, that's because I took everything," I replied with a slight smirk. "What are you talking about? Is this a joke? Why would you do that?" My sister was clearly overwhelmed and confused. "But didn't you say I could take everything I bought? But didn't Dad buy them using Mom's inheritance?" she said, and convinced. "That's not the case. There's no such thing as Mom's inheritance. All the expenses of the house after Mom passed away, including the new furniture and appliances, were bought with the money I earned." "Wait, all those were the latest appliances. How did you have so much money?" "Well, the company I work for is quite big," I explained briefly. When I mentioned the company's name, she was shocked. Apparently, even she, who didn't have much societal knowledge, knew of the company. I couldn't help but smile proudly. "Actually, I became a section manager at 30, so I'm financially stable. I bought all those appliances and the car with my own money." She seemed incredulous. "Wait, even the car at home?" "Yes, that's why I took everything." "What? I never knew that. How can we live without appliances and a car now?" She raised her voice. "That's not my problem. I was kicked out, remember? But your husband is a business owner, right? It shouldn't be too difficult to buy new appliances and a car," I said, a bit sarcastically. She hesitated and said in a low voice, "Actually, my husband's company is in a bit of a tough situation." I understood that the reason she suddenly returned to her family home and kicked me out was probably to cut costs and perhaps get financial assistance from our father. She probably also had her eyes on our mother's supposed inheritance. "Oh, is that so? But living a simple life without a car or appliances might not be too bad," I commented lightly. "Don't say that so easily. Return the appliances." "Why? They're mine," I replied. Please, we won't be able to live without them." She seemed to be on the verge of tears. I had no intention of being at their mercy anymore. "If you're that financially strained, why not sell your favorite branded bags and such?" I teased. "As far as I'm concerned, there's no reason for me to have any further contact with you or Dad, so please don't contact me again." And I hung up. Then I blocked her number. Thankfully, I hadn't shared my new address with her, so she wouldn't be able to visit unexpectedly. Even if she showed up at my workplace, I could call the police. Sometime later, I heard from a relative about my sister and her family. Apparently, they sold our family home and moved into a small apartment. Their living costs turned out to be higher than expected. The atmosphere in the cramped apartment was tense. Moreover, my sister's husband left to distress, leaving just her and our father. Financially strained by our father's care, she returned to her previous night job. Age made it difficult, and rumors said she was constantly teased by her colleagues. Eventually, she caused some troubles, making her unemployable. She must be experiencing hell, taking care of our father and without a job. Honestly, I'm not sure how to feel about their current situation, but it has nothing to do with me. Now, my life is peaceful. My new apartment is comfortable. I spend my days enjoying work and the company of my cat. Now, I'm considering the next steps in life, like dating and marriage.